This is the Puck Junk Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast. I'm Sal Berry, and with me is Tim Parrish and Clemente Lisi. And today we are going to talk about the 2024-25 O-Pee-Chee Hockey set. We'll also talk about National Hockey Card Day, which is coming up this weekend, this Saturday, and a couple other things. So, gents, how you doing? Clemente, we'll start with you.
All good. I'm just happy baseball season is here because it's a true sign that spring is here. Having said that, in New York it's been 80 degrees one day and then 50 to the other. So I don't know. So it's got to settle in somewhere in the middle at some point.
Yeah, I actually turned on my air conditioning yesterday. It was so freaking warm in my apartment, and yeah. But then the day before I was running the heat. So go figure.
Yeah, there you go.
Tim, how about you?
I'm just like you guys, but way cooler. So
Got the air conditioning on full blast?
heck no. I'm wearing like a long sleeve and I got like sweatpants on here because I'm downstairs in my house, so it's colder down here. But upstairs, holy cow, we had the windows open and with the humidity and everything, all the wood, you touch it, it feels wet. I hate that.
Ugh, yeah.
But you had to air out the house.
It's like a greenhouse.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a bad greenhouse because all our plants die. So,
yeah.
Well, we're recording on a Sunday morning instead of like a usual Monday night because I have a Monday night class now as a teacher, and I think Clemente, I think you play kickball on Monday nights. Is that correct now?
No, it's an indoor soccer league, but kickball. Thanks. For, I'm not 8.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Well, wait, what do you do in soccer? You kick
a ball, but yeah, okay. But you said kickball is a different sport. I mean, I have a street cred here to maintain. You know, people think I'm like this is like when Kramer on Seinfeld was doing karate against 8-year-olds. Yeah, I'm in a glorified gym class. No.
Actually, the more I think about it, kickball as an adult would be kind of fun.
Like a softball league, but a kickball league.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody over 8 who plays soccer, so.
Well, there you go.
Maybe you are the only adult in the soccer team.
Well, yeah, my mommy packed my juice and my orange slices, so I'm good to go.
Yeah, if you win, there's pizza after the game.
There you go.
No, that's awesome. It's fun to play sports. I mean, for about 7 years, I was playing adult rec league hockey. Of course, like 7 years before that. Now this is funny, like kickball funny. I played in a floor hockey league, which is kind of funny and sad, but what was even funnier and sadder is that I actually got cut from my floor hockey team. Like I got cut, like literally, like they cut me off the team because it was a co-ed team.
Yeah, you need a minimum of a certain number of females, right?
Well, no, and the female who ended up being our team captain, she decided she wanted her boyfriend on the team, so I got cut. He wasn't necessarily better than me, although I was coming off 2 knee operations. So that was like me trying to get back just into things, you know, like physical stuff. But so getting cut by a floor hockey team is pretty sad.
So that's where I'm at too. Like I want to be more active. I will say this for anybody who lives in a city, like, you know, you live in Chicago, I live in New York. There are all these urban sports leagues that involve adults, and a lot of them are between the ages of 25 and like 40, I feel, and they're all there to just drink and hang out and maybe meet people. I'm not there for any of that. I'm there just to be physically active, and I just find going to the gym alone is just too boring. But you know, and it's a co-ed league, so every team is required to have a 2 female minimum, and I gotta tell you, some of the women on these soccer teams, you can tell they're like 6-7 years removed from playing Division 1, and they're kicking my butt, I'll tell you that. So yeah, so it's a great equalizer. It's like, okay, I'm 50, you're 25. It doesn't matter what gender you are, you're gonna get your ass kicked. So, but it's fun and it's good to meet people and do stuff. And you forget that, you know, we all love sports and grew up playing it. So I'm like, hey, I'm not that decrepit. I can still play sports. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay, so a question to the listeners. If you think I should make Clemente a custom soccer card, like my custom Puck Junk business card that has me playing ice hockey, let me know. Leave a comment. Also, suggest what set it should look like. Otherwise, I'm going to make it look like 1991 Pro Set Soccer, which I don't think that was very well received. I don't think it was sold in America.
That was the Premier League one. Yeah.
Was it the Premier League? Yeah. Okay, there we go.
I think you should make him a professional kickball league card. To be honest.
You know, when you say kickball, Tim, it reminds me of just that weird maroon colored bouncy ball that I don't even know what the name of that ball
exactly
is.
The one.
That's also the dodgeball ball, right?
It is.
Yeah.
The ball of our nightmares.
You kick it hard enough, it gets that spin to where it like turns into a flying saucer.
It's like a little bit oval. Yeah.
Yeah, and essentially becomes what I like to refer to as a face crusher.
Yeah. By the way, an adult dodgeball league, anyone's the movie Dodgeball, that would be fun.
No. I can attest to the fact it is not fun.
Well, dangerous.
Too much pent-up aggression.
Yes.
Well, I know this. As soon as there is an adult dodgeball league, or kickball league, I should say, as soon as adult kickball becomes a real sport, we all know that Leaf is going to make its cards.
That's so true.
They're going to have autographs of the world's top kickball players.
Sal, they do pickleball, so yes, they would do kickball.
They do freaking power slap, which is professional slap fighting.
Oh,
okay?
I've seen, that's like the Ocho. The Ocho.
Power slap's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
If there is an 8th level sport that nobody's watching, Leaf is probably making trading cards of it.
Not just Leaf, though. Upper Deck's doing the same thing. They announced this week the surfing set came out.
Oh, God.
So they have professional surfing as a set.
They got to diversify that portfolio.
If there's fandom for something, there should be trading cards for it. I think that's okay. I mean, especially if it's like, if there's enough of a fandom to support it.
If you like blue cards, the surfing set is for you.
Because everything is so niche now. I mean, there's people who would say this about hockey. I mean, we would take offense to that, but there's some people who think hockey is in that category, and it's not. But
I don't associate with those people.
Yeah, I mean, those people are annoying, but they're out there, and so yeah. I mean, when I see trading cards of like very bizarre sports, like pickleball, let's say, how big is the fan base for that, and how many can you sell? I mean, I guess if you sell a few thousand, that's still worth it, I guess, if you're Leaf. And you want to try to offer more stuff because I guess they're trying to gamble. What if pickleball becomes huge and then Fanatics gets involved? It's like, it's too late. Like we lost that. Like we couldn't jump on.
Right. So you get it while the getting is good.
It's defense. It's all defense. And then if it peters out, nobody, like the surfing cards that Tim mentioned. I never heard of that until now. And if it doesn't go anywhere, I never heard of it. It doesn't matter. So
I just saw it this week, and it reminds me of, was it like a year ago? They signed a bunch of the old like Olympic beach volleyball players from like the 90s.
Yeah, Mr. Mate Trainer and a bunch of like Olympic beach volleyball. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they did that a few years back.
But when you're an Olympian, I feel like there's some cachet there. I don't care what sport it is, but surfing's at the Olympics now too. So
I'm still waiting for the curling sets.
Oh yeah, Upper Deck should be all over that. That's ice related. Come on.
Yeah, especially the United States won curling, I think, in 2018.
Curling gets good ratings during the Olympics. So, yeah, I'm surprised.
Anyway, so let me know if I should make Clemente a soccer card. And then after that, then I could do a Pro Set music card of Tim being a musician.
I want a Yo MTV Raps.
Yeah, I like that design, actually.
It's a good design. Very 90s, very 90s.
Oh, my God. Yeah, the pink and the bright green and the speckles. And it was
Yellow Star or whatever.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that was... The 90s just had really fun designs. And, one thing I want to talk about later on when we talk about O-Pee-Chee is I definitely want to talk about the design of this year's set. Let's move on to some hockey news about the Philadelphia Flyers firing head coach John Tortorella. So if I understand the timeline correctly, Tim went to the Blackhawks game. Tim and his wife Jess went to the Blackhawks game against the Flyers.
Correct.
The Blackhawks were so inspired by their presence, they even talked to Jess in the pregame show. And they got so inspired by their presence that they kicked the Flyers' butts at that game. What was it, like 7-5 or something? I mean, it was a high-scoring game.
Blackhawks scored a touchdown.
I don't think I've seen the Blackhawks score 7 goals in a game in a long time, not since the Cup era. And a week later they fired John Tortorella. So can these things be coincidence? I don't think so.
Wasn't even a week. It was like 3 days later.
Wow.
Yeah. No, they're not a coincidence. I mean, I set the whole thing up from the start. This is payback for allowing Ron Hextall to be associated with the Penguins whatsoever. Yeah, it was kind of weird. 11 goals in that game. It was nuts. This is the highest scoring game I've ever witnessed with my own eyes in person.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, I've never been at a game where they scored 11 goals.
And you saw Mario play, and he used to score like 11 goals a game. And
I've been to plenty of Penguins games back in the day, but I don't recall being at one with that high of a score.
Right.
Yeah, and then a few days later, they went out and had another amazing performance against the Maple Leafs. And then the rumor has it that he got into it with Cam York after the game, and some things were said, and then he did the press conference afterward, made all sorts of weird comments. It depends on how you look at them. You can kind of take them out of context, which, I mean, this is 2025. That's what we're supposed to do, right? He essentially, I'm going to paraphrase here because I don't have the quote directly in front of me, but essentially he says that they played horrible. That's his fault. He's obviously needs to get better with coaching, the typical cliche type stuff, but very brief, like Torch usually is, because he doesn't want to say more than he has to, and kind of left it at, I didn't really sign on to be a coach or to have to learn how to coach to a team that just flat out sucks, is essentially what he said. So, in other words, I'm not here to be a coach for a rebuild team. I want to be good, and I want us to be good, and I want us to perform. But it kind of sounded like he said, yeah, this team's rebuilding and I don't want to be here. Next thing you know, he's out the door. Kind of shocking with so few games left, but as good as the Flyers were doing the first half of the season is kind of as bad as they're doing the second half. Just looking at that game Sunday with the Hawks, I even said, and sitting there, I'm like, these have got to be two of the worst defensive teams in the league. So I looked it up while I was sitting there, and sure enough, the bottom 5, those are 2 of them. Did I mention we wore our Penguins jerseys there just to antagonize the Flyer fans, by the way?
Did it work?
Because we did. Absolutely worked. Especially after the game when they all had just dumbfounded looks on their faces.
Mm-hmm.
They always look like that.
But it definitely got us the attention. Like you said, pregame, we went over and we were on the rail for the Hawks pregame show, and Tony Granato came over and was chatting with us. He thought we were there a week early since they play the Pens. So
you stuck out.
Yeah, we definitely did. That's for sure. Honestly, one of my favorite things to do when you go to a hockey game is to look for all the weird jerseys that you see people wearing, like old players and stuff. And find the obscure ones. And I was looking to see, how many people were wearing jerseys that weren't Blackhawks or Flyers. And there was a whole Rangers family that we saw. Believe it or not, there were like 3 or 4 Anaheim Ducks jerseys we saw in the crowd.
That's random.
A ton of Mighty Ducks jerseys. Like tons of people had the Charlie Conway jersey, which seems to be popular. And like little things, like people had their like rec hockey jerseys on, and like some kids with like their high school and probably like peewee teams and stuff like that. Not a whole lot of other NHL teams though represented, except for Jess and I, of course, wearing our Penguins jerseys. So anyway, so Torts is gone. I'm just interested to see if somebody else picks him up, because he's one of those coaches that every time he tries to like distance himself and go get in a booth somewhere or become part of a TV analyst, it doesn't last long. because somebody somewhere needs that extra grit and wants that old school type coach to come in and, shape up their locker room and get people back in line and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Tim, because I see him as the kind of guy that, yeah, he's got issues, but I see him as the kind of guy that a team would bring on in the middle of a rebuild or start on a rebuild. So the fact that he's like, I'm not here to rebuild, it's like, dude, this is like what you do. Teams get you, you whip the players into shape a little bit. I mean, even the Athletic had a story just right after he was fired saying, like, after 2 years at being with the Flyers, like, they fire him kind of too late. Like, if you wanted to get rid of him, you could have gotten rid of him last year, or you wait until next season. They also made some moves during the trade deadline that kind of show that he was going to be here for at least another year. They got rid of 2 players. I mean, they made, so maybe it was the comments he made, and maybe it was the fight that he had in the dressing room. So maybe these.
That's what I said. It's odd timing. So
yeah, it's weird.
Those 2 things had to be catalysts for Danny Briere and what's his name? Tell him to hit the bricks. So I don't know. I mean, it's weird, but like I said, he's one of those guys that, to my knowledge, hasn't slapped a player in the face and insulted his mother or done anything inappropriate on the back end. So I'm sure he'll have a job waiting for him somewhere.
Yeah.
So he's not as bad as Mike Babcock, is what you're saying.
No, he's not. He's not bad on the Babcockometer. No, he's not. He's not.
Yeah, like I'm waiting for the ultimate coaching staff of him, of Tortorella, Babcock, and Quenneville, like all together on a bench. Like, that would be amazing. So
yeah,
let's make it happen.
Just looking at the month of March, so not counting the 31st because that hasn't happened yet as of this recording, but just looking at the Flyers and their losing skid. So on the first day of March, they won 2-1 in the shootout against the Jets, but then they lost 6-3 to the Flames. They lost 4-1 to the Jets. They lost 4-1 to the Kraken. They lost 3-1 to the Devils. They lost 5-2 to the Senators. They won 4-3 to the Lightning in the shootout, just like they did against the Jets earlier that month. They lost 5-0 to the Hurricanes. They lost 2-0 to the Lightning. They lost 3-2 to the Capitals. They lost 3-2 to the Stars in overtime. They lost 7-4 to the Blackhawks. They lost 7-2 to the Maple Leafs. So to say they were on a losing skid is accurate. I mean, they did win 2 games in that span, but they were shootout wins, which a win is a win. I get it. And a win in a shootout is still a win, but you're basically relying on penalty shots to win the game. But then, what's funny is that those same teams that they beat in shootouts, a couple days later, they played them again and they would just lose to them, pretty hard. So it's just like, yeah, you beat the Lightning 4-3 in the shootout, but then 2 games later, they shut you out 2-0. You know what I mean? So it's not that impressive. And then since firing Tortorella, the team has gone 2-0. They won 6-4 against Montreal. They won 7-4 against Buffalo. Their rookie, Matvei Michkov, is on a little bit of a tear. He has, in 2 games, he has 4 goals and an assist. They've upped his ice time a bit.
Talk about a guy that loves the fact that Tortorella's gone.
At the beginning of the year, we were talking about Michkov as like one of the potential rookie of the year winners, and we're still talking about that. He's still kind of in that mix, but then you look and you see him get benched by Tortorella, and you go, rookie of the year candidates don't really get benched by their coach.
Especially on a bad team. Especially
they're put out in all the situations. You know what I mean?
They're not making the playoffs, so I mean, yeah.
Like I said, there was a point in the season where that was a strong possibility. It's just they've played themselves completely out of it. So far to the point where they're even technically ranked below the Penguins in the Metro, if you can believe that. Only because they have the extra game in hand. So, but they're tied in points with 69 points. And as bad as the Penguins are, I mean, that's something.
You look at Tortorella and, the wins that he's accrued over his career. He has a pretty good coaching resume, and he does come off as kind of a jerk. The thing is that, like, he doesn't really strike me as the head games kind of coach, like the Babcock or the Mike Keenan or take your pick. But, like, from what I understand, like, you know how you stand with him. He either loves you or he likes you or he hates you. You know what I mean? But you know if he hates you. When I read John Scott's book, he talked about getting traded to the Rangers and how Tortorella was just like, yeah, you're not going to play. And you know what I mean? Like, and he said to him, he said, yeah, I don't even know why we traded for you because we don't really need an enforcer. And that was it. You know what I mean? And Scott was like, he was just on the Black Aces and he knew that he was on the Black Aces. And then he even walked into the locker room with the other Black Aces and he said something like, welcome to hell, boys. And Tortorella was standing right behind him when he said it. He didn't realize it when he's like, welcome to hell, boys. And, you know, one of those like, he's standing right behind me right now, isn't he? You know, kind of moments. But John Scott's book, A Guy Like Me, totally worth reading. Off topic there, but definitely worth checking out. Yeah, I'm hoping he doesn't come to the Blackhawks because as much as I like Tortorella, I kind of like watching him mess up other teams. Now, when he was with the Lightning, I wanted to see him succeed. When he was with Columbus, I want to see Tortorella succeed because I like him. But when the shit hits the fan and he starts benching his best players and going on a tirade and stuff, I'm just kind of like, ha ha ha, I'm so glad he's not our coach. Watch the Flyers crash and burn, or whatever my team isn't, you know, if that team crashes and burns, I can kind of, you know, sit and eat popcorn and, you know, what's Tortorella going to do now? But if he was a Blackhawk coach, oh God, I could just see from day one him not getting along with the media, and it would just be downhill from there.
Well, if he doesn't get a job right away, I'm sure you'll see him somewhere in a booth, just because that's the way it's gone before. I mean, he did work with ESPN for a little while before he got hired. Heck, he was the weekly insider. This is always a funny story because he was, you know, on Sirius XM radio and all the shows, they always have their little insider people that come on and talk every week. And he was Steve Koulias's insider for one day before he went back into coaching. Wow. So that's all he lasted. But, you know, we'll see. He's certainly a colorful character, and he definitely has that old school mentality. So for those of us that have watched hockey from way back when, we can certainly appreciate that, and makes the game more fun. I mean, how many other coaches currently in the league like chased officials down the hallway or ran into other people's locker rooms to scream at other coaches and players and things?
Oh yeah, to start that fight with another coach.
Yeah, that would be none. So
that was crazy. He's referring to who was he the coach of at the time? I mean, now I'm forgetting, but they were playing the Flames.
It was in the Flames hallway. Who was he the coach of at the time? He might have been with Vancouver at the time.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
It was during the first intermission of that game.
Yep.
So
Canucks.
It was, 2013, 2014, something like
that.
Yep,
good memory. Yeah, 13, 14.
Like, the video is always great because the locker rooms in that stadium were down like a really skinny, tight hallway. And so the scrum kind of breaks out, right? And you just see all these people just crammed into this little tiny hallway. It's just funny.
Tell me that was not straight out of WWE. With oh my God, John Tortorella is going after Bob Hartley. He's trying to get into the Flames locker room.
He did something similar.
You could hear good old JR doing the announcement. Oh God!
Something happened like that when he was a Rangers coach. He went after the Devils coach at the time and shouting at him, like, I think maybe after the game was over. So it's not unusual, but yeah, it's just who he is.
All right, let's move on. I want to talk hockey cards. So National Hockey Card Day is this Saturday, April 5th. Go to a participating card store and get your free pack of National Hockey Card Day cards. You can find a list of participating retailers at upperdeck.com/NHCD. The set has 30 base cards, 1 Rookie Moments incentive card that you get if you make a $10 purchase. There's also a checklist that doesn't count, but I count the checklists. 10 prominent rookies, 10 hockey superstars, 10 legends on ice, 1 checklist, 1 Rookie Moments card. Plus, there are Victory Rookie black insert cards. There are mascot insert cards. There are also long odds of getting an autographed card. This year, like the previous 2 years, it's the same National Hockey Card Day set in the US as it is in Canada. Once upon a time, there used to be separate sets, one for Canada, one for USA. And what I liked about that is that there was some cross-border trading. I'm on a National Hockey Card Day collectors group on Facebook. And, you get, American here with an extra set. Anyone in Canada have an extra Canadian set, and there'd be some trading. And that was nice. Now everybody gets the same set, and it's 31 cards instead of 16 cards. I don't know if I like that or not, but that's just how it is. What do you guys think?
Tim, you can go first.
Oh, me? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We participated most years that they've had this and gone to usually at least one shop, if not multiple shops, when we had them available in our area. We still do have two, but last year we didn't. That was the first year we didn't actually go out and participate directly. Now, we got packs later on, but
right.
We just didn't go out that day. So that was the first time in a long time. I wasn't feeling it last year.
Mm-hmm.
So this year, here's the thing. Full set, 31 cards. Okay, fine. I get it. Same north of the border, south of the border. Okay, I get it. It's easier for them to produce that way. What I don't like is most years, you could kind of see a distinguished difference between the subsets, between the prominent rookies, the superstars, and the legends cards.
Mm-hmm.
They all look exactly alike this year.
That is true.
They do say the different things. They do say like hockey superstars or legends on ice, but it's all the same font. It's in the same spot. The pictures are the same, where it's the color cropped out photo with kind of like a black and white sort of sepia looking imprint in the background, kind of like the old Olin Mills effect, They're all the same. Like they could have mixed it up a little bit. And I understand this isn't like a widely produced thing or whatever, and they're giveaway cards. I get all that. But, man, at least spruce it up slightly, somewhat, a little bit. They brought the mascot cards back. Okay, that's fine. All the mascots aren't included. There's only 9, I believe. So, with a header card. So 10, which again, if you're going to do a few mascots, just do 8 and a header card. That way they fit in a page, but whatever. Nobody will ever listen to me when it comes to that. The rookies, there's 10 or 11 victory rookies that they threw in there. So it's a good mix. You got Celebrini in there. You got Michkov in there. I am kind of happy that they threw Rucker McGroarty in there too. So that's kind of cool. He just got called back up to the pen. So that's kind of neat, but it's decent. There's more autographs available this time. There's 2 different sets, if you want to call them sets, of autograph cards that are included in there instead of just the one main one. So I guess you would say you have a better shot at pulling them. But in typical fashion, just like the Tim Horton stuff is, or anything else that's a giveaway, all of this stuff has already started to surface on eBay. So it's kind of anticlimactic, I guess.
Oh, and just to clarify, there are 10 mascot cards and there are 10 victory rookie black cards as well. Yeah,
10 of the victory rookies, and there's 9 actual mascots, but one's a header card. It's essentially a team photo, a sideways team photo of all the mascots, like across the ice, all standing together.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I call that a header card. It's not for everyone, but that's not really the idea here. This is an incentive to get you to go out, participate in the hobby, maybe pick up some cards, spend some money at your local dealer, assuming you have one, if they're on the list. Definitely go check out the store locator list on Upper Deck's website. We can probably put a link to it in the show notes so people can check it out. See if you have a store near you.
Yeah, so I only have one of those stores near me, and I have gone in the past. I didn't go last year. I think last year was the Bedard Mania year. So people were like, And they were showing up. I mean, you're saying that these are already on eBay and other places. Last year, they
Yeah.
were up earlier, even earlier than that. And the fun of it was kind of gone. And I remember I picked up a few of them, not at the National, but the Expo. By the time the Expo rolls around in the fall, these cards don't hold a lot of value, and you can get them for a couple of bucks or get a whole set for very little. And so, it takes the fun out of going to the local store and trying to hit an autograph, which is impossible.
What's the closest area to you?
So I'm in Brooklyn, New York, and there's one in Manhattan, which is maybe a few miles away.
Because I was thinking of that too, and I'm like, I wonder if Clementi's got stuff by him. And I thought you were Brooklyn.
Yeah,
I thought I saw 2 places on there that
it could be. There's some few stores popping up that are new, but I mean, to be a diamond dealer, to be sell upper deck products regularly, you have to sort of be like not a super seller, but you have to be a pretty big store. If you're brand new, I don't know that you're going to get product. But so I've gone there before. But like I said, I pick them up usually. I mean, I think at the National they might be lying around too, like this summer. So it's or I get them on eBay, or they're really cheap. I mean, even if you buy them on eBay, they're fairly cheap. And the thing is too is I'm not really in the mood to buy product right now. So it's like, okay, so what do I buy to be able to then just get these packs? The other thing too that they're standardized between Canada and the US is because Upper Deck has been promoting them in the last few years as a global thing. Like you can get them I think in the Czech Republic and Finland. So they want to make them kind of like what Topps does for National Baseball Card Day or something more like, okay, universal, or the Topps Rip Night, like something like that. And I think they're moving in that direction. They want to be able to say, hey, it's global. I know with the Four Nations recently, I think Upper Deck is really trying to make this one a global thing. They did the same thing last year. I don't know how many stores in Europe are going to give these out, but it's a thing among a small subset of collectors. So I think that's the other reason why I like the idea of being able to trade with people like Sal did. I mean, there were Facebook groups dedicated to this in the past, and now it's kind of not a thing.
I knew you were going to say something about the international part of it. I did look that up beforehand. Okay. They have 3 stores on the site in Sweden, 1 in the Netherlands, 1 in Australia, 1 in the Czech Republic, and 1 in Korea.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's obviously spread out.
Yeah.
But, with that big show that was being advertised on social media last week, being held in Great Britain, and with seeing pictures and stuff from it, with the hobby as big as it is over there, I'm actually surprised Upper Deck doesn't have any dealers in
Europe.
Yeah, like that part. Yeah, it's all up in Viking land. It's not over in like England and France or that area. So.
I think you're referring to the London Card Show, which is becoming a thing. But if you go to it, it's dominated by soccer, Formula One, some baseball, some football. Basketball's big in Europe, and then Topps Fanatics. They're really cornering the market globally. And now you have the Shohei Ohtani thing with baseball in Japan. Like it's Fanatics is smart to go global. I mean, hockey is a global sport already, so there's another opportunity for Upper Deck to really push the limits. And like you said, but I think being able to sell Upper Deck product is just not that easy, or not for everybody. So they stores in the UK or maybe even in Scandinavia, they just can't get this because they're probably not even selling regular wax in general.
It certainly would make sense to throw these in countries that have a hockey presence, especially if you look at the Olympics.
Yeah.
Or these larger tournaments, the Swedens, the Finlands,
Norway, Germany,
obviously Russia, but apparently we're still not allowed to talk about Russia, but Denmark, Germany, the up and coming areas of these teams that are popping up on the radar at least. So
no, I agree. So it's an opportunity that maybe will grow over time. I mean, if Four Nations becomes a bigger thing, which I think it can be, maybe there's a tie-in with that.
That'd be interesting. Yeah. Oh yeah, especially if they shook it up. Like there's been a few times where Upper Deck has shaken it up. I remember I think it was one of the lockout years, or that would have been 12-13. I want to say it was that year for Canada. They did like a Team Canada set. Or it was all like international Canadian players, because I remember they had like a Gretzky and Lemieux card from like the 87 Canada Cup, and it was all like Canadian junior players and Canadian like Olympians and stuff like that. And I thought that was pretty cool that they kind of focused it on just like an international team. And that would be kind of neat, for the next Olympics if they did. I don't know. I mean, because they kind of got to do them in internet or in U.S. jerseys, or maybe they could do them in like the Four Nations jerseys because that was a NHL thing. That'd be kind of neat to just like mix it up and say, yeah, all right, 30 international players, 5 from USA, 5 from Canada, 5 from Sweden, 5 from Finland, 5 from the Czech Republic, 5 from Russia, right? And I think those 6 would make the most sense. But I'm thinking ahead, that'd be kind of a fun way to mix it up a little bit.
And even if you don't want to go to the trouble of getting licenses from the IHF or the U.S. Olympic Committee or whoever, USA Hockey, you could just have them in their, using soccer parlance, their club jersey, their team jersey, and then just put the flag in a corner. Like you don't need to go crazy, but it would create more appeal among people like us who are like, yeah, I might go on Saturday to my local car store, but I may not, to people around the world. I mean, it would definitely be a thing. People would. I mean, I can imagine the resale value on eBay and other places because people would say, "Oh, I'm not near one of those stores, or I live in Russia, or I live somewhere where I can't get these cards. I want to get them." So yeah, it would be really cool. It makes me think that I wish sometimes the trading card companies had almost like an advisory board of collectors. Like, hey, I know we don't work for you, but we have some great ideas, and you can discard most of them. But every once in a while, people like us have good ideas because we collect and we love to see certain things. I just wonder sometimes people at Upper Deck, but not so much there at the NHL and other places, are just not thinking this deeply about it. And so they're like, oh, people want that? People care about, I mean, even the Four Nations, like we all kind of knew it was going to be a thing. And then the NHL was like, oh, they were surprised. I'm like, really? Like putting USA Canada on TV, you think it's not going to like get people to watch? And if they admit it's a good idea, then the question is, how come you didn't think about this 10 years ago or 15 years ago? Like when USA Canada was always a big deal, So things like that sometimes make me a little bit like, okay, I know Upper Deck is doing a lot. I mean, I don't want to rip on them. They create a lot of product. They're doing a lot of things and they have to worry about making money. That's what they do.
Right.
So I get it. But like you guys mentioned earlier, like the design here is kind of bland and all the cards look the same. It's like you can put a little bit more creative juice into it because otherwise don't do it. I feel like we collectors have figured out that it's like, oh, when they're just, phoning it in, you can tell. And I'm not saying they're phoning it in here, but it feels like, oh, they do this every year. How do you make it exciting? Look, they were lucky last year that Bedard was a hot rookie and people were going crazy with these things. You couldn't find them. But this year, that's not going to be the case. Celebrini is not moving the needle like Bedard did. Hockey people care about him, but people outside of hockey don't care.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. The cards, I like the design of the cards. It's just they're all the same. So if you're going to have, at least differentiate between the subset.
Right.
Like maybe make it a different color. I don't know. Or like move the player from the right side to the left side.
Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy, but yeah.
Yeah. Just to differentiate.
Yeah.
Like really, there is no differentiation no matter where you go or where you get these. The only real difference is in Canada, you can get those full sheets at like Toys R Us and London Drugs and GameStop and stuff like that.
That's cool. I like that.
If you want to learn more about this, you can go to upperdeck.com/NHCD. I'll also put a link in the comments. Okay, so Clemente, you recently wrote for Sports Illustrated about the new Under Wraps Emanate Hockey set that's coming out this week. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, this is something that was bizarre to me, and obviously was bizarre to you, I know, because it was in the newsletter last week. So for those of you who don't get the newsletter, please get the newsletter. And you wrote about it as well. And the key question is, what is this product? Is it autographed photographs, 8x10 oversized cards? Are they cards? Can we call them cards? What's the quality? I haven't seen them. But essentially, it's a lotto ticket. You buy a pack, and you might get particular autographed player, kind of like what Topps does already for baseball. They do that with these with certain sets. It's just interesting to me because the back is designed just like a trading card, and Fanatics is making a big fuss about this on X and other social media platforms. And to me, it's they're photographs. Yes, They look like hockey cards, but they're not cards, blah, blah, blah. But to me, it's a flirtation. I think something is there. I think it's, as the kids say, shots fired. I do think that, I do think that Fanatics
Promise
tops.
me you'll never say that again.
No, in this case, I felt like it's appropriate to say, hey, Fanatics tops, like we're watching. We want to dominate all the 4 major sports. We know hockey is something that they're not at all involved in other than the stickers, but that's a future podcast. And so, to me, this product was, well, what is this? Like, are they making hockey cards? What is it? It's weird. And the product itself does not appeal to me because you guys know I have my OCD about anything oversized, anything that's a different size than a regular trading card just bothers me. But also, I don't even know what the texture of this stuff is. Like, I'm not even sure if it's like hard like a card or is it like flimsy like a photograph. And I'm not interested in autographed photographs. We can get plenty of that all over the place at shows, and I can print my own 8x10 and get it signed at a show. That doesn't appeal to me. But it's just a weird product, and I'm sure you guys have thoughts about it. But I do think it will confuse collectors when they see it. They're going to be like, "Wait, what is this?" And it goes into future things about. I know Sal, you wrote about that, about the license in the future. What can this mean? It's a lot of speculation, but just I think it opens that door and discussion. And for the fact that Fanatics came up with the idea, I think they made a similar one for baseball last year.
Football too.
So it's not unique to hockey. And they had to make some kind of deal, obviously, with the NHLPA about this. And so I don't know. It just feels like they're, at least in discussion, they're talking. And Fanatics is actually showing, hey, you know what? We care about hockey. We don't just totally ignore it. We want to make some hockey products. And the most we can do, stickers, these oversized cards / photos, whatever you want to call them, whatever they can do. I mean, we know that if you go to fanatics.com, there's plenty of jerseys. They do the jerseys now, autographed pucks, autographed, memorabilia. They did a lot of stuff for the 4 Nations. Like, they're involved with hockey. They're not ignoring hockey. And so I just wonder what you guys think about all that. I just think it's an interesting product. It's not for me, but I'd be curious to see if I even see it out in the wild at stores, at shows. I don't know what the appeal will be, but I think for Fanatics, it's just, hey, you know what? We're here. We see you, Upper Deck, and we're going to breathe that on your neck a little bit.
Tim?
What do you want me to say here? I mean, really?
Your thoughts, man. Your thoughts. We want you to share your opinion.
Are these cards? No, they're not cards. They're 8x10 photos.
That's fine.
They're basically printed on a little heavier photo stock is what they're on.
But they look like cards. They're designed like cards.
Okay, the fronts, I will give you this. The fronts look like cards. Even the backs, I'll go as far as to even saying the backs are kind of representative of what a trading card would look and feel like, minus all of the stats and stuff, which this is 2025. The fact that you even get stats at all shocks the heck out of me anymore anyway. So there's a photo on the back in addition to the photo on the front of most of the regular ones that shows the player's name, the photo. There's like a stylized border that kind of matches what's on the front. And then it'll say, congratulations, you received a 1-of-1 autograph of whoever's on the front. It has the team logo, has all the million Fanatic stamps, the holograms, the 1-of-1, all the sponsorships, blah, blah, blah. So if you bought an 8x10 photo at a show, you went to get it signed. It's one of those authentic 8x10s that are licensed by the leagues. They usually have the photo, same thing down on the bottom. There's all the copyrights and the little logos and this and that and the holograms and stuff. So rather than slap all that on the front, it's on the back. That's it. These are still not cards. They're 8x10 photos. It's the same as they did in the other releases for the other sports, and it carries over for hockey. Are they cool? I guess if that's what you're into, if you like to collect autographs, I suppose this is a cheap way to get potentially some bigger name autographs. I'm not sure who's all included in there, but I imagine for the price point, considering these are about $130 pre-sale right now for one autograph. I mean, if you pulled an Alex Ovechkin at $130, or Bedard at $130 or McKinnon or Crosby, I'd say cool. If you pulled Evan Rodriguez, maybe not so much.
Well, it's a lotto ticket, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know you prefaced it by starting that off, which basically everything is. Here's what I don't like about these. Okay? Why do we constantly have to bombard products with a million parallels? Why? Like, this isn't even a card set, and there's a million parallels.
Because they want to create a chase.
But there's gold variants and orange variants and blue variants and red variants and iridescent variants and a partridge in a pear tree. It's crazy. So you're going to buy this, you get one photo in here. And all of these are numbered. So like gold's out of 50. That's the highest numbered one. Then 25, then 10, then 5, then 1. So your odds of pulling these out of there are like, I don't know, 1 in a billion. Sure. Every one of them's in like a nice little folio. If you watch the video that Fanatics put out of the unboxing with I think it was the radio play-by-play guy from the Panthers, did the unboxing for them. It's in like a nice little folio thing. And then it's also in a mag holder. So a hard plastic mag holder. It already comes in it. Okay, that's cool. I mean, I don't know what that costs. I'm sure one of those cases costs like $5 or $6. So there you go. You don't have to buy that. But still, I mean, 70 players on the checklist. You got rookies, you got NHL legends, you got stars. You know, they were advertising that there's even like Messier's in there and Pavel Datsyuk's in there. So, I mean, you do have a shot at some older players and stuff like that you don't see very often. Okay, that's cool.
But you don't get McDavid or Gretzky because for obvious reasons.
Yeah, you're not going to get either of those two because they got exclusives. So I don't know. Again, this isn't a card. It's a photo. It's a photo box. This to me is the same as like when you remember when in like 98, 99, Panini did those photo cards. They were like five. Yeah. They were like little 5x7s or 4x6s. And they were like the worst quality photos you'd ever seen.
Yeah, I totally slammed those on a Puck Junk review like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was obsessed with that set because, you know, I wasn't collecting hockey cards in 98, 99. And then when I got back into it, I'm like, oh, there's these oversized Panini photo cards. And then I'm like, oh my God, these are horrible. Not only were they horrible, but they made an album for them with the sewn-in pages, and there's not enough pages for all the photo cards. So, you know, it's you're in bad shape when like you make a set that's like 108 cards or whatever, but the album only holds like 80.
Yeah, and at least this is a step up from there. I mean,
right.
These actually look somewhat decent. But again, I don't know who the market is for this. I really don't. I feel like this is more along the lines of those people that buy those repack memorabilia that like all the big retailers sell, like the DAs and the Steel Cities and stuff.
Right, Hit Parade and stuff like that.
Yeah, that have like, this has got a random auto in it for whatever. I feel like that's kind of what this is. Maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, if I spent $130 and I got Matt Rempe, I'd probably be a little disappointed.
Well, you know what this reminds me of too is remember a while back they signed an exclusive autograph deal with Connor Bedard. It makes me wonder, like, when you have his autograph like exclusively, yeah, how many pucks can you sell or even photos? I think they almost had to cater it and say, you know what, we've done this for other sports. Let's just create a product. Let's get a couple of other players, and we already have a few of these. I mean, this same thing with Celebrini. I think they have him under contract, just his autograph, and it's like, well, if we can't make product, and you know, Fanatics is like this churning wheel. They have to constantly create product and throw spaghetti against the wall and make stuff. And if nobody buys it, nobody buys it. Like, whatever, we'll take the loss and we'll make something else. Now we know nobody wants 8x10 hockey photos that look like cards. Nobody wants that, maybe.
Well, it's certainly their way to use those licenses. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, because their licenses does not cover cards.
No, exactly.
Like those exclusive deals are for memorabilia only.
Yes.
And if this is not a card, it's a autographed photo.
Correct.
That's covered by the license.
Yeah, and you know what? They have the platform. If this bombs, they'll put it on fanatics.com for $50. And trust me, all of a sudden it's more appealing at 50 than 130. You're like, okay, you know what? I'll gamble. I'm buying a shirt anyway that they're charging me $100 for anyway, a t-shirt, whatever. Just put it in the cart so I get free delivery or something.
So you're saying a year from now, these are going to be on the table right next to the Grandeur coins? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
If they're not popular, yes, they will be. And then I'll be like, I'll get a photo and throw some coins in there.
I mean, for $50, sure. I mean, but 130, even 100, you go, all right, it's $100. One autograph photo. I'm taking a risk. I'm just looking at some of the names here. I'm just going to just pick. So I'll just start with R. Rasmus Dahlin, Roman Josi, Ryan Getzlaff, Sebastian Aho, Sergei Bobrovsky, Seth Jones, Steven Stamkos, Tom Wilson, Travis Konecny, Victor Hedman, Wyatt Johnson, Yanni Gord, Zach Hyman, right? So I just went from R to Z, right? And I look at that and I go, yeah, there's some guys in there whose autographs I would legit want on an 8x10. And then there's other ones where I go, okay, I'm not a Sebastian Aho fan, but he's a good player. Wyatt Johnson's having a good season. Zach Hyman had a good season last season. You know what I mean?
Which Sebastian Aho is it? The good one or the bad one?
The one on the Hurricanes.
Okay, the good one.
I know that's confusing, right? But anyway, so when a company doesn't have the license to do something, but they really want that license to do something, they will make other things kind of like it until they can get the license that they really want. Almost like to prove, I don't say prove themselves, but look, the CBA is coming up. The collective bargaining agreement between the NHL and the NHLPA is going to expire September of 2026. I'm not sure when the NHL and NHLPA exclusive with Upper Deck expires. I feel like if it was going to expire soon, we'd be hearing about it. Maybe not, though, because they keep that stuff, no pun intended, under wraps. Like, you kind of find out last minute, like, oh, we're extending the license with Upper Deck. But what I'm saying is the players obviously want to make more money. And when there's more licenses, more companies making stuff, that you get more revenue that way. I mean, this is a big, I don't want to say cash cow, but there's real money in the video games and in the trading cards and in the other licensed memorabilia. And Fanatics is just biding its time. Like, look, we can't make hockey cards, but we're going to make hockey stickers. And you know what? We're going to do some serial numbered parallels like we do with our baseball cards and see how that works, how if the collectors like it. And then we're going to make these autographed photos and we'll see if collectors like that, right? And so then when the license comes up, they already have a track record and they could say to the NHL and the NHLPA, look, we couldn't make cards, but this is what we made and this is how well it sold and this is how successful it was. And then they might say, oh yeah, you did autograph photos, you did pretty good with that. You did stickers, okay, and you did pretty good with that. Yeah, all right, let's give you a trading card license, you know what I mean? And make, you can make 5 products a year, or 10 products a year, or whatever for 4 years. I could see this happening versus like if they just say, oh, we want the license, but we're not going to make any hockey product until we get that specific license. And I feel like that's kind of like what Topps was doing with its sticker set all along. When it got that license to make the stickers and Panini lost that license to make the hockey stickers, I just thought, okay, this is their first step into getting back into making hockey cards. But then, the whole buyout with Fanatics happened and then the landscape changed, the collecting landscape changed because of COVID and whatever. But now we're kind of, I don't know, things are kind of status quo again for a little while. So I don't know. I feel like I kind of went in circles and didn't really say anything.
No, but another test of this product itself, or just hockey in general and Fanatics, is a Fanatics Fest in June. What will the hockey presence look like there? Because there's no Upper Deck booth there. Like, it's their show, right? It's not the National where everyone's there. So we'll see if they have like gigantic posters of Bedard and other players. Then maybe last year it wasn't big. Hockey was very much not a thing there. Yeah, the NHL itself had a booth, but it wasn't like Topps or Fanatics branding anything. But I can see, in the pop-up store, them selling this product because they can. And, even the casual hockey fan who doesn't even know about what we're talking about right now, because they never heard of Topps, Fanatics Emanate or whatever, they may see it there and go, oh, I'll buy this. Like, I'm here. I'm already this deep in. I've spent all this money to go to this show. My kids are here. I'm a big hockey fan. Like, there's some hockey here, So I don't know. I think you're right. They just want to create product to say, hey, look, we care about this, and don't underestimate Fanatics' ability to like overbid and say, well, we'll give you 3 times the amount, just because it's like it's like a muscle contest to them. It's like, well, we're just gonna, even though we've heard stories where Fanatics is not maybe financially doing so great because they spend a lot of money and the return isn't always coming in on the investment, right? It depends. But if they really want something, I feel like they'll go for it. And so this to me is a foray into that. Maybe I'm overreading it, but it's interesting, and I think it's a stay tuned kind of thing. See what happens over the next 12 months.
Well, most of the big online retailers have it available for the people that want to pick it up. If I was giving you a recommendation, though, I would say don't purchase it from GameStop, even though they have it advertised on their website pretty heavily. And the whole reason why is, this is an 8x10 product, and they list the product dimensions as 6x4 on their website. So
what's the price though?
$130.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm pretty sure. So it's the same pretty much everywhere. So I'm pretty sure their version is folded in half. So if you don't want yours creased, don't get it from there. Also, if you notice on their website, when you go to buy the product, under the care instructions, it does say machine wash cold and tumble dry low heat. So I'm not sure you want to do that for your 8x10 autographed photo, but
you know what? They use the T-shirt template for it.
Yeah. GameStop says it's okay. You can machine wash cold. They do also slap, you'll be happy to know, the California Proposition 65 warning on it. So in addition to being able to wash it, it will cause cancer. So
wow,
just throwing that out there.
Yeah, but if it was $100, I'd still buy it.
Yeah, $50, I'm in. I don't care.
But 130, no, 130 is just a weird price. I don't like that. I want something to be $5, not $7. I want something to be $100, not $130.
Yeah, you know what? But psychologically, $99 would have been the best price for this. $99.
Yes, $99
plus tax, shipping. People would have paid it.
Yeah, maybe even bought 2 or 3 of them. But at 130,
because then you're like, it's a lotto tickets for fun. Like,
yeah, and you're still getting an autographed picture, and if you don't like it, maybe you know somebody who does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at 130, it's just such a weird, just such an odd price.
If it's Ovechkin, you keep it. If it's somebody else, it's a Secret Santa.
Right, Kevin Fiala. Here you go. Or Chris Letang, or Leo Carlson, or JJ Peterka. Right.
Yeah.
But machine wash cold. Don't forget that.
Moving on to 24-25 O-Pee-Chee Hockey. Just give you a few of the basic stats about that set. So, like past years, for quite a while, it's a 600 card set. You have 500 base cards. You have 100 short prints. Short prints, you have 40 All-Stars, 59 marquee rookies, 1 short print checklist. Hobby boxes are about $75. You get 18 packs per box. You get 10 cards per pack. And it seems to be that you get 1 short print per pack, 1 retro per pack, 1 insert per pack. So, Tim, I know you've actually bought some O-Pee-Chee this year. So why don't you take the lead on this? Because I know you've been a bigger fan of O-Pee-Chee than I have these past few years. I think I was more into it in maybe the first 4 or 5 years that Upper Deck started putting out O-Pee-Chee cards, but you've been kind of consistently all in on it from the beginning. So what do you think of this year's set?
I mean, I've pretty much tried to collect the set. I'll try to build it every year. Back since 2006, I've been putting the sets together. But I will say that last year, was it last year? 23, 24? Yeah. I didn't buy any.
Couldn't find it.
Well, it's a Bedard year.
Yeah, it made it a little difficult, and prices just that's too much for O-Pee-Chee. I don't care if Bedard's in it or not. I mean, we know that those marquee rookies, they don't hold value in the long term. I didn't buy any 22, 23 for that matter. So I'm a couple years behind as far as actually buying product. So this was the first year that I actually picked any up because we could find it and it was at a decent price when we found it. I don't know. I've always been the one that was like, O-Pee-Chee needs to be like the older type style and everything. So, having the gloss on the front and the white card backs instead of the flat kind of cardboardy card backs. They haven't had those for a while. I realize that. I'm not a huge fan of the design this year just because it looks similar to the last couple years' designs. It also is very close to some of those MVP designs, just with a bigger photo on the front, like the mid-2000s ones.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's a fun product to open simply for the fact that there are so many different potential inserts and things that you can pull. And Upper Deck, just like everything else, they've bombarded it with parallels so you can chase the rainbow with a million different colors and everything else as far as the inserts go. So, I mean, it's a cool product. It's always a cool product every year. And it gives you a little more bang for your buck as far as what you can pull out of it. Because this isn't generally a product that's going to cost you $200 or even $150 unless it's got Bedard in it. I think we paid, I want to say, under $90 for boxes here. And that was like the week it came out. So they've come a little bit down in price since then, but all the usual suspects are in there. The team logo patches are back. The playing cards are back. The O-Pee-Chee Platinum previews are in there like they usually are. They did include first round draft patches, which are kind of interesting. I actually pulled one out of our boxes that we bought.
Which one?
That would be Connor Bedard.
Oh, no way.
The black background one.
I'll trade you. I pulled Matt Savoy of Buffalo, but I think he's on Edmonton now. So, but whatever. Yeah, the draft patch is kind of interesting. Manufactured patch card.
The one I have is vertical instead of horizontal. And there was two different Bedard ones. There's the draft patch with a white background and one with a dark background. I got the dark one. So the draft patches are cool because they're like 1 out of 192 packs. So if you can pull one of those instead of like the team logo patches, that's kind of cool. But I mean, there's not a lot to say about O-Pee-Chee. Like I said, this is a set builder set. If you're still a set builder, so I'm talking to 8 people out there, this is a set to definitely go after because there's so many cards to put together. 600 cards is a lot. And with the high numbers being short printed, you only get one every 2 packs. So, they're harder to put together. But it's a fun chase.
I like O-Pee-Chee every year. I will say this year, the design of the cards is a little underwhelming. It does feel like something it did a couple years ago with those diagonal lines. This one's a little different, but Clemente, you remember, it was 2 years ago. It had the white borders with like the gray diagonal lines. I know you gave me like a bunch of extras that you had.
Yeah, I mean, it feels very much the same and also very much like MVP. So I agree with that.
I like the fact that they switched to like a white cardstock for the back because I feel that like you can still be old school, but you don't have to have crappy production values or crappy production techniques to be old school. Like, I mean, don't forget, there were O-Pee-Chee cards from 1990 onward that were printed on bright white cardstock. So the fact that it's not on like that ugly brown or gray cardstock like the O-Pee-Chee or Topps cards from the 80s, I don't mind that because you know what? They still did that with the retros, which the retros are printed on the brown cardstock. And then on the front, they have like a colorful design, which will probably set off a bunch of conservatives because it has a rainbow background behind the player. Yay. But kidding aside, I thought that was actually a nice touch. Like they went with the retros, they went retro on the back as well with the brown cardstock. And then with the newer ones, they still feel old school, but by old school, they feel old school by not being overblown designs. It's a player photo, it's a logo, it's a border. It doesn't have silver foil. It doesn't have prismatic backgrounds. It doesn't have holograms. It doesn't have all these other things that kind of oversaturate a lot of the designs of today, where we're like, well, let's put more foil on it and let's put a prismatic background, and which I like that stuff too. But I feel like Tim says it's a set builder set, but really it's an old school set where it's like, not, okay, here's 100 players. It's like, here's 600 players, and then it's like, we're not worried about like gimmicks. We're just making cards of players, and it's a more expansive set. And so that's the appeal of O-Pee-Chee, right? Like if you said to me, hey, do you want an O-Pee-Chee base set or do you want an SPX base set? I would want the O-Pee-Chee base set because it has more players. And even though SPX or something like that would be focused on the really good players and would have foil and all that other stuff, sometimes I just want to have more cards, and I want to have cards of like the second and third and fourth line players. And I can appreciate that. And I think a lot of people, maybe they don't appreciate that like we used to, like in the 80s and the 90s, where we bought cards and we learned about the players. And that's how we got to know the players was, because you'd maybe see your team play this other team 3 times a season, and maybe one of those games or 2 of those games wouldn't be televised, or they were on past your bedtime or whatever. You know what I mean? So this was a way to kind of just learn about the game when you weren't watching the game. I do kind of wish that the backs had more than 5 years of stats, because a set called O-Pee-Chee should have all the stats. Like the old O-Pee-Chee cards did have all the stats, except for there's a few exceptions. I know 7980 is a notable one where they didn't put all the years of statistics, but, in other years they'd list out, 10, 15, 20 years of stats for some of those guys. And I think they could do that, get rid of the picture on the back, shift the other information up, put more stats. It's funny because I know I sound like I got like a split personality, but like I complain about too many inserts, but at the same time, I like the fact that this had a lot of inserts, because the inserts are colorful, and I feel like it almost makes up for like the blandness of these cards, which are just very subdued with, black, white, and gray borders. And then you get like an O-Pee-Chee Premier card that's foily and shiny, and then you get like an orange parallel, and you get like blue parallels and red parallels and black bordered retro parallels, and the playing cards, which I really don't have any use for, but I think they're kind of cool. The reason why I say I don't have any use for them is because they short print certain ones. So if you go, oh, I might want to build a deck of these, that would be kind of fun to have. Well, good luck, because there's going to be some that are way harder to get than other ones, and I don't appreciate that. There's 52 of them. Don't make certain ones harder. I don't know if they did that this year, but I know in like years past, like certain playing cards were tougher to get than other ones.
Yeah, the face cards, the aces and the jokers were always a little less frequent.
Mm-hmm.
This year, if you look on the back of the package, there's no differentiation between them.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know if that means that there is a difference,
mm-hmm.
or if they just didn't print it.
Mm.
In years past, it has always been the case. But yeah, I mean, the fact that you're able to get the depth guys
mm-hmm.
in a checklist is good. O-Pee-Chee was always good for that. Now, that changed a little bit when Flagship went to an extended series, because now you added extra content to most of the team checklists. I hearken back to the fact that if I'm building team sets from all the releases every year for, let's say, hypothetically, the Penguins, I don't know why I would do that.
Hypothetically, like if it came out this year, you're not going to get a set that's going to have Kevin Hayes or Nola Chari or Emil Bemstrom or a second goaltender with either Jari or Nedeljkovic, depending on when the release comes out. You wouldn't have those opportunities. Like I said, Upper Deck comes out with extended now, so they have extra, so you get these guys in Flagship too now. But O-Pee-Chee and the Flagship with extended, that's it. Prior to that, it was just O-Pee-Chee. You're not going to see these guys in an SP or a Allure or Black Diamond or any of that kind of stuff. Well, Black Diamond doesn't really have quote unquote base cards per se, but you get my point. Even in the MVPs, 250 cards generally, other than a few rookies, you're going to get the base 8 or 9 players. So yeah, that's always nice, especially if you want to see a bigger array of players on your team.
That's kind of the big draw to this. I'll continue to build it. I mean, I have yet to complete a single one. I know that comes as a shock to most people. Going back to 06, 07, I have hand collated every single year except for the last 2 years prior to this year, since I didn't buy any. But I've hand collated all of these sets, and I am nowhere near completing any of them. I think, if I'm not mistaken, 21, 22 is the closest I am on a set. And that one I am, if I'm not mistaken, about 30 cards shy. And that's 1 through 600, including all the short prints. They're tough builds. They really are. So unless you buy a case, it's difficult. O-Pee-Chee is not really one that people keep base cards lying around and they're like, yeah, I'll trade you these. It's not a thing.
06, 07, I remember that year, and I did buy some, but I ended up just buying a base set a couple years later because I was able to get the full set, including short prints for 06, 07. 07, 08, I actually built that one with all the short prints. I bought a lot of O-Pee-Chee that year. And then I want to say 8, 9, I want to say I bought the set with the short prints, but I didn't buy the update set because those were always pricey. And to this day, that the last 200 cards, the update set to that, which came out in packs, which was annoying because then the packs had like a lot of inserts. I think it was like 5 cards per pack, and for like $3-4 a pack. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm only getting like really 2 update cards and then like 3 inserts or parallels. And then 9, 10, I built that one by hand, and that one had an update set, which was you could just buy as a box set. 10, 11, I know I bought that like as a complete set with all the short prints. And then like 11, 12, I don't remember. 12, 13, that was the year I bought a case. And of course, I built this full set. If you buy a freaking case of something, you should build a full set. And then after that, I don't think I have one finished set. Like I might have a base set, but no inserts. I might have just some here and there. But yeah, like those first 5, 6 years, I was like complete or almost complete. And then it was just like, I don't know. I just got overwhelmed by it. I'm just like, yeah, I'll finish it one day. I'll buy a base set for $50 and then pick off the last 100 cards, and then I never do, or I just find them so randomly, and then it just gets harder every year when there's another set that gets added into the mix.
I lied. 12, 13 is the one I'm closest on. I only need 14 cards.
I probably hooked you up with a ton of that. I had so many freaking extras, man. Clemente, I bought a case. It was like 12 boxes, and that was back when they still had 32 packs per box.
A lot of cards.
Oh my God, dude. It took me like a week just to open all the cards, and then it took me like another week to sort them just in my free time.
Right.
And then I had like all the parallels. It was just nuts. And I think that was the year that they had the red bordered. I want to say that was the year they had the red bordered parallels, but you had to like mail them in, but it was only available in Canada. So
yeah, those were the wrapper redemptions.
Yes, and I had so many wrappers. So I remember, shout out to my friend Al Kawamoto, who lives in Toronto. He let me mail all my wrappers to him, and then he did the wrapper redemption for me, and then he sent me back all the red bordered parallels that I got, which was really nice of him because, man, when you have that many wrappers and you're like, oh God, and I can't participate in this redemption, and that was pretty cool of him to do that. So thank you, Al, if you're listening. But I like O-Pee-Chee, and I'd probably collect it a little more as far as like buying the packs and stuff. But I almost just want to buy the set and be done with it. And I know that's counter to what you do, Tim, and that's okay because there's no wrong way to collect, even though you're going to say there is maybe, or maybe deep down you're like, yeah, you're doing
my way or the highway.
My way, right?
A set of lies.
Yes, that's right. It's a set of lies.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I believe there's plenty of sound bites of me saying that exact same thing.
Just one
set of lies.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's for the bingo card.
Here's the thing. If you stick to building sets, right? And I understand wanting to buy the full set, Like if I'm collecting full sets, but I usually build them, like I go back all the time onto this. I'll go through my list of things and say, you know what? I'm going to collect every set from 1991 and every set from 91, 92. And I go back and look and I see what I have, what I don't have. And then I'm like, do I really want to put this together by hand? No, I don't. So would I buy the set? Was there a factory version? Yeah, maybe I'll buy it. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But any of the stuff that's in like modern times, I would say from late 90s onward, I've pretty much started building, so I might as well see it through to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not going to get 100 cards short of a 600 card set and then turn around and buy the whole set.
No, that makes sense.
Because that's silly. Now what do I do with the 500 cards that I had? Do I break it up? No, because nobody wants singles of O-Pee-Chee. They don't even want the rookies. So there's no real reason for that. And it's not like you can go back to 05 with O-Pee-Chee because they didn't come out till 06. So there's no Crosby rookie. There's no Ovechkin rookie. You don't have that. You got those rookie showdown cards, but those don't count.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm already this far in. You're not going to pull me out. So I poke fun and stuff. And trust me, I've been tempted. I've been tempted numerous times to just buy these sets outright, especially the last couple years where I haven't bought any boxes. But I look at prices for the complete sets that include all the short prints, and like in my own head, I can't justify spending $150, even though I would spend that on 2 boxes,
right,
and probably buy a third and a fourth just to try to build it myself. I'll spend the extra $70 or $80 on 4 boxes and try to build it on my own if I'm going to do that, just because it's going to be fun. I may get a cool patch card. I may get a bunch of the playing cards and may actually be able to complete a 54 card set because there's 2 jokers in all of them. I've never done that either. I've tried. So those are tough.
I think with the older sets, when there was only a couple of sets to collect, even in like the 90s when we had like 5 to 7 sets, like I'm talking early 90s now, or if you focus on a couple of things, like if you just say, I'm going to collect Upper Deck Series 1, Series 2 Extended and O-Pee-Chee, and that's it, then yeah, you want to buy the boxes. I liked buying boxes. I remember buying a box of cards when I was a kid and saying, yeah, I could get the set for 10 or I could buy a full box for 18. But I wanted the full box because I wanted to get the insert stickers. I wanted to get duplicates of the players that I liked. Maybe I wanted to get doubles of like the rookie cards or whatever, right? So there was sort of that game involved that made it more fun than just buying the set and being done with it. But I think because there's so many sets now, and because the sequencing of like when you buy like 3 boxes and 2 of them have the exact same cards in them, and you go, oh my God, every single card that I got in this box is identical to every single card I got in that box. Or the only difference between these 2 boxes was 11 cards because of the way they're packed. Or when you open a pack and you go, wow, it's the same 9 cards I got in the previous pack or in the pack in another box or whatever. It becomes so hard. Then you're spending $600 or $700 to complete a set that you could buy for $120, $150. And then you go, could I have used that other money to buy other sets of cards and then also picked up a base set of Allure or a full set of Allure, a set of O-Pee-Chee Platinum, right? Like, and I look at it that way. Now, if it was the collation was a little better or easier, then I could see, yeah, all right, I'm going to buy 5 boxes of O-Pee-Chee and build a set and get all the inserts and get all the short prints. And maybe I'll get one of those cards that you only get one in every 400 packs or whatever, right? Like, that's fun. But then when you do that and you still don't have a base set and you have enough doubles to make 3 more base sets, except you keep getting card number 71 like 6 times, and then you're just like, yeah, I got 4,000 cards and 0 base sets. That's my problem. That's my biggest problem.
It's a valid point. If there were more people like me, it would be a lot easier. But there haven't been people like me in 20 years.
Crabby people? I don't follow.
Oh no, there's plenty of that. I met people that set build, and you buy a shit ton of packs, and you open them all up, and you want to trade your bases, and nobody wants to trade base cards because nobody cares about base cards, even though base cards are people too, and their lives matter. So I would love more than anything else to sit here on a weekly basis on the weekends when I do all my card stuff and sit down here on a Saturday morning and go through a list of all of the people that I have that are trader people and be like, I need to get rid of some of these O-Pee-Chee cards. Who collects O-P? Oh yeah, there's these 5 guys. I'm going to reach out to those 5 guys and be like, hey, I got blah, 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 and blah. I'm looking for this, this, and this. Can you help me out? I get random people that do that sometimes. They'll like DM me on Twitter and they'll say, hey, I was going through your checklist and I found like these cards that you need. You interested? Of course I am, because any help I can get on finishing sets is great, but we're dinosaurs. Like, there aren't many of us. And so, like, these trade nights that Clemente loves that are at all these shows, that's what I envision these should be. I want to take my stuff and I want to sit there and trade like the late 80s and early 90s when we would go over each other's house and we'd play a rousing game of wiffle ball or smear the Q word in the backyard football wise. And then we'd go inside and we'd trade cards for like 17 hours. And you'd sometimes end up with the same exact cards you traded away in the first place. And we were pulling them out of our binders and out of our boxes and switching back and forth. And we're trading base cards and we're doing all that kind. No, that's not what these are. These are just small versions of a show where I didn't pay for a table and I'm just trying to sell you all my junk slabs. And I'm trying to get you to buy my autograph cards that are $3,000 and this, that, there isn't any of this going on. And I understand that there's communities online. There's still forum groups that do this. There's still groups on Reddit that do this. There's groups on Facebook that do this, but I don't know. I guess I should just shut up about it and not be the get off my lawn guy when it comes to this, but I just wish there was more collectors that are into that kind of thing to be able to finish all these O-Pee-Chee sets and not have to pay $1, $2, $3 for a bunch of no-name fourth liner base cards that you need to finish a set from 12 years ago. You know what I mean? So I don't have a problem buying cards on ComC. I have no problem at all.
Right.
I do it all the time. But most of these base cards are either not on there or there's 2, and the 2 people that are selling them, the one guy puts his at $3 and it's a useless card, but he had the only one, and then somebody else saw that and be like, I have this card. I'll put it on ComC for $1.50. Well, even at $1.50, it's 10 times too much. That's a 20-cent card, but I'll never get it because I'm not paying $1.50 or $3 for it. And it might be the last one I need to finish my set, but it's the principle of the thing.
Well, Tim, what you're talking about exists only, I think, in the vintage baseball world where I'll go to a show, no matter what size, and there are literally guys sitting in front of binders, like they're in the Library of Congress, going through their checklist and taking out cards they need, and they're priced appropriately. They're $1, 50 cents, $3, it depends what it is. There isn't that culture, in hockey. There isn't that kind of mass. Even when you go to the expo, I don't see people doing that. And if they're doing it the flagship sets. They're not doing it with something like O-Pee-Chee. For me, O-Pee-Chee is not, I'm not building a set, but I like the nostalgia of it. I like the brown backs, the white back, whatever it is. I like the touch of it, the feel, the smell of it. It brings me back to when I was in high school or even younger. The O-Pee-Chee logo. It's a little bit like when you buy Donruss baseball. They don't have the license, but the rated rookie card still has that appeal for me. I like that. And so it scratches that itch. It scratches the itch of buying a box because it's like $75 or $100. It's not $300. So I like that. I like pulling the marquee rookies. I know they don't hold value, but if I can get a Connor Bedard young gun, then I feel like if I get the marquee rookie, I wait long enough, it's affordable and it's still his rookie year card. And I like that. So I like getting that. In a lot of ways, it's more of a starter set for younger people than I think even MVP is, because MVP is really cheap, but it doesn't have any bells and whistles. It's not really great. as opposed to O-Pee-Chee, which has a lot of cool designs. Yeah, it's repetitive. The design gets repetitive, but you can't tell me like the black border retro cards. They look great, I think, despite the triggering effect Sal mentioned. But also, I also like the playing cards. Yes, I won't be able to get all of them. Like last year, I was in Chicago at the show. I saw Sal there, and because Bedard was so hot, people were buying cases of it, ripping it just to get any Bedard cards, and then the rest of the stuff, they were basically giving it away. Things were like pennies on the dollar, and that was the one positive of the Bedard effect was like, oh well, people don't want all these other cards that they pulled out of a case, so you can pick off. I mean, you probably could have picked off a set at that show because people were just giving things away. I mean, I was buying playing cards for a quarter each, like it was crazy, and it was fun.
Where was I?
I think you went last year's show in Chicago in March, or maybe we didn't meet up there, but maybe you went the next day. So that was great for that one reason. And that was a new product then. And then if you go to a show in Chicago, next time, or if I go to a Chantilly or whatever, I probably won't see any of those cards because that newness is gone. And like, it's a shame because I do think a lot of breakers throw the base cards away, which is crazy because you're right. They hold no value to them. They hold value to us because we collect sets, player collectors, whatever. There's people in a different universe that we're in, which is shrinking. It's not about sets anymore. It's about individual cards. And if anything, this set highlights that big time. But I do think it serves a need. I like the nostalgia of it. And I know it has a million parallels, and I hate that generally. But in this case, I feel like I let it go. Like, I just feels like this serves so many purposes. If you buy one set all year, this probably should be the one you buy because it's affordable, it's fun, and it's nostalgic for us because we're older. For younger people, it's new to them. They've never seen that kind of quality car, that kind of brown back or whatever it is. And yeah, I like it for that reason. I recommend buying it. It's also, it scratches the last itch for me, which is if I go to a show and I see nothing I like, I'll just buy a box of that set so I can say I bought something. If I go to a new card store and they have it, I'm like, I'll buy it so I feel I want to support the local LCS. So it's for me, it fills that need, and it's great to buy in the spring when playoffs are heating up a little bit, season's kind of ending, the regular season. So it's kind of it checks off a lot of boxes for me, which I like. But I recommend people buy it, and it doesn't matter what year you buy. It's always got the same sort of even mix of legends and veteran players, and then new rookies and all that stuff. So definitely, it's worth looking into.
Well, other than being a hybrid of 2021 and 21-22 design, like mashed together, my only complaint about O-Pee-Chee in the last few years has been it used to be a beginning of the year product, and now it's become a mid-year product, and I don't like that. If they moved it back to a beginning of the year product, I'd be cool.
Well, then it would fill the MVP thing because MVP is a beginning of the year product too. Maybe MVP goes away.
Those two and artifacts were always the beginning of the year products because every one of those was set up with draft picks,
right,
or the late rookies from the previous year. And most of the players are in their old uniforms if they got traded over the summer or signed somewhere else. So those were the three sets that you would always see.
Yeah.
First of the year, old uniforms, older rookie crop.
It's become very much a March product now, though. But yeah, I agree.
But it's still the same photos.
Yes.
But now in the middle of the year. So now you're halfway through the season.
Right.
There's already been a ton of stuff happen, and you're getting these cards. You're going,
right.
Wait, when did this guy play for Detroit? Oh, a year and a half ago. Cool. It needs to be a beginning of the year product. That's my only thing. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, I think they want to get that top rookie. Like last year, they got Bedard in the set. And this year, they got Celebrini in the set. A couple other guys, too, who made their debut earlier this year. I didn't mind it being a beginning of the year set and then having the update cards put in like Upper Deck Series 2, or they could even put the update cards in Upper Deck Extended to make that a little more desirable of a set, because I like the update cards. I like the fact that it said, all right, here are the 20 most important players who changed teams during the off season, and we need to show them in a new uniform. And then here are 20 rookies that weren't available to us at the beginning of the season when we released O-Pee-Chee. And I didn't mind that. I like update sets, even if it's just like 40, 50 cards. Like, these are the important players that need to be added onto the set at the end. I think that's cool, and I'm okay with that. And I wish that was done a little bit more.
As long as they're caught up, I'm fine with that. I just don't want the base card in the release to be Patrick Kane as a Blackhawk, the update to be Patrick Kane as a Ranger, and he's played for neither team in 2 seasons. That's why this should be a beginning of the year. But again, I'm nitpicking.
If Upper Deck really wants to go old school, they need to airbrush the photos like old O-Pee-Chee cards. You know what? Airbrush Patrick Kane into a Rangers uniform, but then put a Red Wings logo in the corner and then put now with Red Wings. To really, really confuse people.
And then short print it, and then people would go crazy.
Okay.
Well, they already do the photo variation, so it's possible.
Yeah.
I did have to do that. The 3 boxes I bought, I had to go back and look through all of them to try to find photo variations.
Oh, good. I'll have to do that too.
How annoying was that?
Yeah, it's hard enough just to put them in order, and now you have to look at the fronts and make sure that you don't get anything rare.
I had to make sure my Connor Bedard wasn't the goal celebration, the one with his helmet off, the black and white version, the end of game 3-star salute one. Get out of here.
I usually don't pull cool variants like that. But anyways, guys, any last thoughts before we wrap this one up? Because I think we are all liking O-Pee-Chee for different reasons and at varying levels of affinity for it. I think we all like it.
I'm a fan. I always will be a fan. But that's me.
No, I'm a fan too. I like it. And I think if you're listening and you never bought it, you should definitely go out and buy it. For the price point, you're not going to feel terrible about it afterwards.
You definitely get what you pay for. I mean, you're looking at like $4 or $5 a pack, or maybe a little more depending where you buy it. But you're going to get 7 base cards. You're going to get 3 inserts, one being a short print, one being a retro, one being different, either a parallel or an insert or something. And it's a fun set. It's got variety. The inserts are colorful anyway. I like it, even though, like I said, I'm probably not going to buy a bunch of boxes. It's definitely something I'd want to get a set of. Thank you for listening to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast. As always, if you've enjoyed the show, please be sure to like and subscribe. You can check out our newsletter at puckjunk.com/newsletter. And you can check out the online store at shop.puckjunk.com. And until next time, collect what you like.